It's March. Call to order, please. Roll call.
Chris Brown. Amy Grantham.
Here.
Nancy Hopper.
Present.
Katie Jess.
Here.
John Crowdy.
Here.
Mindy Smith.
Here.
Sarah Whitney.
Here. Pledge of allegiance, please.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Before you, the minutes of the previous meeting. Pledge of the board. Move to approve.
Second.
Roll call.
Amy Grantham.
Aye.
Nancy Hopper.
Aye.
Katie Jess.
Aye.
John Crowdy.
Aye.
Mindy Smith. Aye. Sarah Whitney.
Aye. Next, we have the approval of the agenda. Pleasure of the board. Move to approve.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Amy Grantham.
Aye.
Nancy Hopper.
Aye.
Katie Jess.
Aye.
John Crowdy.
Aye.
Mindy Smith. Aye. Sarah Whitney.
Aye.
Next on the agenda, we have special presentation. We have new safe entrance for Pioneer Elementary School Performance Services. Thank you.
All right, thank you, everybody. Appreciate your time tonight. I'm Ian Ross with Performance Services. I'd like to just let my colleagues introduce themselves in a moment, but for the last 10 plus years, I've been working with school districts, K-12 districts, to execute capital improvement projects, safety and security projects, infrastructure projects. So I really appreciate the time tonight to really tell you about the discussions we've had up to this point, some of the developments that we've had, very collaborative with Mr. Sanders and other staff. We understand that safety and security are a top priority for the district. And I'd like to show you how we've developed a concept for what this could mean for Pioneer Elementary, as well as the timing of what this might look like for you all, as well as how to fund it, and how those options might impact the timing and schedule. So please feel free to jump in with any questions throughout this. Appreciate your time, and I'd like to introduce my colleagues. Or actually have you introduce yourselves.
Just very quickly, I've been with Performance Services for about a month. So I'm here as an observer. I handle our local government work, although I have a long background in Colorado in schools, so it's great to be here. Thanks for letting me sit and listen. I'm Kate Sawyer, by the way. I don't think I said that.
Hi, nice to meet you. I'm Steve Savoy, Principal Architect, Performance Services.
So when we first spoke with Mr. Sanders and his team and Adriana, and we looked at sort of the existing entryway and the need for a new, safe, secure vestibule, we also opened up the opportunity for redesign and improvement in the interior space, things that could be more modernized or just better suited and right-sized for the district, for the school. So we've gone through a variety of iterations of the design phases, gotten feedback. Steve and our architectural team have taken these sketches and really moved things around and received input. So with security being the number one, really the top priority here, we've also found an opportunity to kind of redesign some of that interior classroom and space around the vestibule, so that you'll have a better overall workflow and environment for your teachers and staff. We're going to look at some cost ranges, just high level. As we move forward with this, we're happy to share more information about the estimating process, what we've taken on as far as the work we've invested along the way to get to these ranges. But they're project budget ranges at this point. And then the funding options, we've got a variety of options. We've looked at probably 4 or 5 options that we think would help allow you to get the first design piece and really take a focus on security as the next part of the project, as well as then some options that would leverage grant opportunities for the state. And we're going to show you the implications of that on the timeline. So let me just pause there and just ask, are folks familiar with security vestibule projects, maybe show of hands, have you done them recently? Yeah?
Well, yeah.
All right.
How long are they schools?
Okay, all right. And just overall, you know, I know this is a presentation, but, you know, how did that go? Any initial feedback or comments on that?
I think it all went very well. That was a few years ago, probably 10.
Before I got here.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, great. Just trying to get a sense of, you know, recent experience and timeline of that, so appreciate that. Performance Services has been around 27 years, and our founder really was looking at some practices in his the firm that he came from, and really was frustrated with the idea that folks were buying one thing, budgeting one thing, taking on a project, and then seeing the budget turn and creep by way of change orders. So he made a commitment to his customers 27 years ago, and he's carried that through all the way, that there will be no change orders. Once we agree on scope and final budget and get bids in, that's gonna be the price. So we think we're pretty darn good at what we do. We're not perfect, but if we make a mistake along the way for something that we should have identified and should have figured out early in the design process, we own that mistake. And that's really what sets us apart as a firm. We've done 800 plus projects with districts around the country, and we're committed to 100% customer satisfaction. So that's how we've stayed in business, by keeping people happy and making good on those promises. And our commitment is to K-12, so our focus is in K-12. That's the area that we've built our business around. Before I turn it over to Steve, I just want to mention that this has been a really iterative process, and while some of the designs and some of the things that you might see today, you know, look like they're pretty well baked, we welcome feedback down the road. We welcome the opportunity to really take these concepts and turn them into design, or turn them into construction-ready documents.
Yeah, thanks, Ian.
Yeah.
All right, again, I'm Steve Savoy, I'm an architect. So Ian did a good job of kind of like what we're going to talk about today and a little bit more about performance services. I'm just going to walk through the evolution of kind of initial ideas and kind of some options that were selected and kind of where we are today with kind of the district's preferred kind of solutions. Again, a lot of input from Rob and Adriana and their team as we went through this process. So I'm just going to start kind of big, high level here. So this is, we're familiar with this Google Earth view, you know, the project area on the west side of the facility and that parking expansion area there. Just make sure we're all on the same page. So you'll notice the bottom left hand corner, I think it was October, it was around mid-October 2024. I was out here meeting Rob, met Adriana at the time. We talked about the goals of the project, the vision of the project. So we just kind of wanted to get a lay of the land. So this is just kind of a quick refresher. You know, this is the existing floor plan. The areas in yellow are indicating kind of the existing office functions. You know, the main office kind of on the island in the middle, as we all know. And then some guidance kind of related programs off to the right. And as we all know, you know, maybe at one time, you know, the building was designed as existing main entry to be on the east, on the right-hand side. But, you know, for various reasons, right, we want that entrance to be on the west. So just quite simply, we're just kind of initial vision, initial kind of discussion of priorities, but we started to kind of notice a couple key things that, you know, there's kind of 3 existing classrooms near that existing west vestibule that start to feel like they would come into play. So we kind of started some conversations with Rob and Adriana. Hypothetically, if you needed to, okay, we want the main entrance and the security control point to be on the west side. You want your office and your receptionist to be there with them. So that started to just kind of open the dialogue and kind of have the creative juices flowing. Very quickly after that, we started to kind of identify, well, okay, the areas in green, those are existing office spaces, and the area in the left, that's kind of the current potential real estate of those 3 classrooms that could be in play in kind of this space swap. So we started to talk about, you know, I kind of just shared with Rob, you know, like preliminarily it looks like for sure, just kind of with a diagram like this, you kind of need the real estate of at least 2 of those classrooms to move kind of 1 for 1 the amount of spaces and offices in the current main office to the west entry. But that 3rd office may be in play. And then the existing guidance area on the right, may or may not be in play. So we just started to talk through that. I think we kind of left that meeting thinking we're going to look at a couple different options. What is possible perhaps if you just take over 2 classrooms versus maybe a little more of an invasive approach and take up all 3 classrooms, and that would maybe include relocating guidance as well. So just kind of the evolution. That was back in October. And at the same time in October, as we blended in December, we started to talk, well, there's another component to this project. We would like to kind of extend the current drop-off area to get closer to the west entrance. Just get the parents and the small kiddos, if it's really cold morning, just that extra 15 to 20 seconds less of a walk. So kind of with that in mind, kind of, as a good gesture to the community and students' parents, we started to look at a couple different options. I think we kind of started out in October on the left, but what if we just kind of literally just kind of extended the parking lot kind of in a northeasterly direction and just kind of relocated the loop just farther, just to make that walking distance shorter. And then, in December and January, we looked at, well, we've seen some successful kind of roundabout scenarios be successful at other districts as well. And then as we started to kind of think about it more, also with this opportunity, we probably want to make sure we provide some additional handicap or kind of very close parking spots, whatever the solution is. So we looked at kind of the pros and cons, and we kind of talked about the merits. I think as we entered the new year, we started to look at, as that kind of the initial analysis was kind of on the table, and kind of Rob and his teams were kind of thinking about it and thinking about the pros and cons, we started to further explore options on the inside of the building. So this is just a diagram in yellow indicating the existing kind of project, the existing classrooms that we think are maybe in play in this project. So the 3 classrooms, the middle office area, and the guidance on the right. The first option we came up with back in November was just a very straightforward, what if we just take up 2 classrooms and literally repurpose, see if this laser works. You guys are probably staring at this one, aren't you? Mm-hmm. So what if we would just only move the existing office that lives in that spot and take up the 2 classrooms with a 1-for-1, similar kind of spaces, but improved flow, and create a secure vestibule. This looked at even just kind of an option that really, rather than a secure vestibule addition, what if we kind of created a secure vestibule inside the existing space? With the idea that maybe you don't need to build an exterior secure vestibule, maybe that could be a solution. I think Rob and his teams kind of looked at those options, and I think there's some pros and cons to those approaches. I think one comment was that they made the reception feel a little crowded, and maybe so that kind of kickstarts some other ideas if there's any other options. So we got some feedback specifically about that option. Adriana, I think, specifically kind of commented, we can't really provide 2 new classrooms that are smaller than what you're used to. So we got some feedback at that time. We really need to kind of get these classrooms a little bit bigger at the former office area. So you'll notice these classrooms are bigger than kind of the month before. And then also there's some existing media center and shared staff rooms kind of side by side up there that kind of feel like they're double dipping in functionality a little bit. So then we talked about what's the right size of spaces as that area gets remodeled as it would require as we kind of reestablish the wall between those spaces and the right size classrooms. We got some feedback on some minor alterations and feedback relative to the clinic and the reception, which was good. So then, as we kept going in December, we said, just what if we occupy all 3 of those classrooms? So this option is a scenario that all the main office spaces would be all co-located to the left. So instead of guidance kind of still remaining over kind of a little bit on an island if everyone else of the main office floats, what if we incorporated them into the solution as well? And so this option, although it does take up 1 extra classroom, it takes a look at, well, we're going to put 1, 2, 3 back of those departments relocating. So a viable option. And then we also, this is the first time we started to look at what if we created a new exterior secure vestibule to free up that space inside the main office for a better flow at the welcoming desk at the reception. So clearly we went through a lot of options, we got a lot of feedback, we looked at everything from A to Z on what's possible. But at the end of the day, as far from the site perspective, I think the current feedback right now, the consensus kind of from Rob and Adriana's team, that it feels like this solution feels like the best solution for the school right now. I think they're not feeling as comfortable with the roundabout approach, but the parking lot expansion, including some handicap spaces at the nearest point, and a simple drive that spills off of that current kind of service drive, where you go, if you go to the service, you go to the right, if you're going to drop off a kiddo, you're kind of peeling to the left. Very solid solution, and all the other solutions are possible as well, but this is kind of where we are right now as far as thinking it's the best solution. From a building standpoint, where we landed was the option that only occupied 2 of the 3 classrooms. That just felt right, better for various different reasons from Adriana and Rob's team, and it doesn't lose any classrooms. The 2 classrooms that are getting taken over by the main office are recreated in the vacated main office area. But quite simply, just to talk in a little bit detail, this would be a new secure vestibule in the location that the current vestibule is. We'd actually we'd provide a new storefront wall that kind of creates kind of a new glass vestibule. And there's an existing window in the exterior wall that we would punch out and blow out the sill to create a new entry storefront location at that location, like you see at other secure vestibules. The main office would be able to buzz people in and have the visibility to see who's coming and going. And then when they get past that control point, they can go back into the main hallway proper. The spaces kind of to the left have been flexing around and will probably continue to flex around, but in general, providing a clinic that is in close proximity to the reception, has visibility, and has a backdoor entrance as well. It has its own restroom. We have a staff restroom, we have some storage, we have a workroom, a principal's office at the corner that would have a window, and a conference room tucked in the rear. The classrooms in the middle are very similar to the iterations before. So that's kind of where we landed. I just wanted to I thought it would be effective to talk you through kind of all the due diligence steps that we did and multiple iterations, and we didn't just kind of come up with these solutions overnight. So it's been kind of really good feedback from the district, which makes our job, rewarding to work.
Can you go back to the parking lot that you said?
Yep.
The preferred?
Yep.
So what would the bus flow look like on that one?
Buses would go over on the
South
east side.
side, Spruce.
That's
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
They do that
It's still where the
Yeah.
drop-off,
Okay.
it's still where the drop-off is.
Yeah, it wouldn't impact the current festival again.
Perfect.
Well, any other questions about the floor plan or? Okay. Again, it's just a conceptual design, but based on kind of a lot of due diligence and feedback, so.
If there are other questions down the road, we can talk more about the layout, get into specifics, and if you have the opportunity to talk about that at a work session, we'd be happy to do that. Cost standpoint, our estimating process is a team of people who really take a lot of pride in looking at all the unit costs, all the linear footages, really spending a lot of time in getting to an estimate, and just a little bit about our approach. We're a design build firm, so we're an integrated firm. So when we do the planning and the cost estimating, we have architects and engineers on staff, and we also construct the building. So when it comes time to take a budget and say, well, yes, but can it be built for that? We're the same people saying, well, yes, we said it could be built for this, so we can build it for that. So you don't have to worry about separate entities discussing that piece, and that's been something that our ownership customers have enjoyed over the years. And when you costs, we're really including all the site work that Steve described, all the full building renovation, and the new secure vestibule. We believe it will be within the range of $2,080,000 to $2,350,000. And this would be for all those elements of the project. So all the design fees for permitting, full construction, and then managing the project, as well as project assurance. So we have a performance assurance group. It's headed by a former facilities director. And what we do is we provide this district with ongoing support as needed. When you buy a big project, you have new things, new things that you are not used to maintaining, and there's maybe not a playbook for how to do that. So we stay there by your side for as long as needed to take care of training up your maintenance team. We sat down with Gary, with Mike, and talked to him about his current maintenance processes, talked about what that would look like with the new vestibule and the new project elements. So our firm is committed to no change orders. So when we say that this is the price and we can do it for this, that's the guaranteed maximum price. Do you have any questions on the price? How's this looking for folks who kind of thought, kind of saw the project come in or might have heard a little bit about it? What are people thinking?
Everything's expensive.
It sure is.
Probably within the realm of the norm.
I
mean,
thought it was gonna be higher.
You're not wrong, and we think this is a pretty good industry standard price or better. But you're right, it's gotten crazy. Yeah. So I think that's where the timing piece comes into it, where we'll talk in the next slide about options and timing. But you have a lot, or quite a few funding options, and I'm not here to tell you which one's best or which one's right for you. But hopefully I can bring a little insight to help you make a decision that's going to be the best balance of two things. Getting an important security upgrade done for the district, as well as balancing the funding options and the timing of the project construction so that you can say confidently that we took this on, we did use the best use of taxpayer dollars, and most aggressively got these upgrades with the benefit of having a more secure and an improved environment for our students and staff. So you got the reserve fund. That one's pretty cut and dry, frankly. And I think that, just would take a hard look at what sort of hit you'd want to take to that. And looking at the budget, that's a business decision for you all. The BEST grant, you've got funding cycles in the BEST grant. So typically it's awarded, applications go in January. For those, are you all familiar with BEST, right? So you have some timing cycles to work with in BEST. So January application, kind of May, June award, and then that puts you in the worst spot possible to do summer work. So that's the challenge with BEST, right? Certificate of participation, we think that, potentially at this level of funding, typical underwriting process, 2 to 3 months, that sort of thing, and then you've got a note on, paying it off on the term that whatever you want to work with your financial partner, or we can help you secure one. But then you have your ongoing payments for that piece. Office of School Safety Grants, has anyone used one of these in the past? No?
Cameras.
You did for cameras? Okay. Looking at the class of applicants most recently, typically they're kind of in that $50,000 to $150,000 range. So it'd be a portion of the funding, but that's kind of gives you context of where that would come in. And then potentially a combination of those sources too. So what could this mean for this project? Look, I think the reserve fund would be a pretty nimble way to get the initial piece up and running. And when you think about what the key pieces of this puzzle are, you've got to start. If you start design early, then you can get ahead. If you can do design and get your subs together in the kind of winter and spring, then you're ready to start construction for the summer window, right? So it's all about optimizing that window. With the reserve fund, we think you could start construction and take a significant portion of the construction and finish that this year. And you could fully, I'm speaking out of turn a little here, but potentially you could fully fund the project out of the reserve fund. With the BEST grant, it's a great way to get grant money, state money. With the matching piece, you're waiting to that next cycle, coming in with sort of the summer of 2026. You're starting to design if you get awarded in June of 2026. So you have to think about if you're willing to wait that long on a grant, which may or may not come through. So I think that's a challenge with that one. And then staggering the designs of the construction. So then you have the rest of the construction being done in the following year. So a little bit of uncertainty there, but the opportunity to get state funds. With the CLP, the Certificate of Participation, I look at this as very similar to the reserve fund. That's kind of a known entity, you could potentially fund the whole project and get going immediately with the design, and then take that into either 2025 construction or phase that into, part in 2025 and a part in 2026. The safety grants, as I mentioned, it's very similar to the BEST. You've got an uncertain outcome from a funding standpoint. It's a smaller portion of the funding, and then you're kind of waiting. They have a little more aggressive schedule, so if you get into that spring award cycle, you could potentially start designing a couple months earlier compared to BEST, and then you're still kind of in that fine window for summer construction. But that'd be threading the needle a little bit, but that could be part of the puzzle. And then you could probably do a combination of those two, or any of those, where if you can get design started early, then you could potentially get the vestibule work and a portion of the interior renovations and interior improvements done in 2025, and maybe let some of the lesser priority items kind of move over, delay that safely without much risk, delay that to 2026. And that might be a way to have a combination approach. Let me pause here. I know I'm kind of coming up on time. I want to be respectful of your time. Do you have any questions on the funding, on the timing, anything we've gone over so far?
Hey, Rob,
Yes, ma'am.
I thought I heard something about legislatures looking at best grant reducing the funding sources through there, so there's also that.
There's a lot, that's just always up in the air every year. They somehow find a way to fund it, but big budget shortfall that they're gonna have this year, best way to take a little bit of a hit.
Yeah, that one's evolving, and unfortunately, kind of going the wrong way with the shrinking pool.
So I guess the only question that I have for you is, what kind of project supervision does your organization provide? Because the security project at the high school was a good one. However, there were some areas that we had some issues with after the project was done, and it was strictly due to hiring of contractors, and then nobody was there supervising the work that was being done. So
Yeah.
some rework that had to be done.
See, I can speak to that. So we're really proud of our construction quality oversight process. It's something that, first of all, we would lay out early in the project, prior to construction, making sure that we're taking safety really seriously, but also having milestone inspections. And, we'll be out if anyone needed anything. And frankly, this is a condensed type project, as far as you're not going on different sites and traveling all around, the district, right? So making sure that we have the reporting from our quality assurance visits that's given to you. So if there are issues that need to be addressed, we would bring them to the district. Stop work if something needed to be done so that there's no rework, and then make sure that that gets addressed. And we would take care of the ownership and the responsibility of any change in cost, so the district would not pay any cost overrun compared to what we initially said. So all the reporting from our quality assurance efforts would be fully transparent, public information, things that you would see regularly, and making sure not just that we're doing high quality work, but also that we're moving through the budget and timeline according to what we said we would do.
Thank you.
Yeah. Does anyone have anything else? Just real briefly, if I can. All right. We have a lot of experience supporting folks with best grants, and if that's a route that you choose or a combination route, we're happy to help you with the grant writing, with that process. We've also done a lot of bond support campaigns. I know that's not the issue of the day, but it's part of our skill set. And I think the point of this is that we are really good at communicating with the community and stakeholders to make sure that folks know what's going on. So we can show people on your website what the goal is, what the project timeline is. We can get the community involved in groundbreaking, in the sort of things that, help kick off and share what you're doing to make these improvements. And then, show along the way that we've done X percentage, help you with the messaging on your website, advocate for you so that you have those things at your fingertip and you make it easier to share that with the community at any given moment. So that's what we wanted to share with you today. Happy to discuss any of these options, the funding, the design, the approach that we would take in a more detailed forum, in a work session if you'd like, or anything you'd like to go into more detail about. We're happy to make time for that. But were there anything that you wanted to get covered that you didn't see tonight? All right. Well, I really appreciate your time and allowing us to present. We look forward to the next steps.
We appreciate your time and coming down and sharing all this with us. We've got some things to think about, so.
All right.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Now we have opportunity for audience input, comments.
I'll say something.
Oh, good.
I have some parents who couldn't be here tonight because of coaching and family emergency and stuff, but they did want me to just, if we had a chance to speak, they feel like this safe vestibule has been put on the back burner over and over, and so they just implore the board to consider sooner than later timelines, because we are the least safe entrance building, and that's scary. We don't have a straight line of sight from my front office staff or my office to who's entering our building. So we're relying on cameras or, going out into the area and looking. So I think our timeline is important to us, a sooner than later one.
Well, I can tell you to rest assured, we're going to take a lot of that into consideration and do your. All right. No one else, we'll move into reports. Fort Morgan High School student representative is not here tonight. She is at soccer, so she has a valid reason. We will move on to 4B, which is the board. I think we have anything from. Surprised I'm keeping my mouth shut, so I'm going to find out.
He's a mean. I can't hear. Okay. All right, I can't hear.
I should have said that.
So, thank you to Performance Services for coming out. We have been talking to them for quite a while, and I do know several of their people on their team for 80 years. Yes. And so, what I want to do is I want to come back sometime in April, whether it's going to be a 2-hour work session before a board meeting, or whether it's going to be like a 4-hour Saturday where we can do a retreat. I'll send out some dates tomorrow to see what you guys want to do and when you're available. But it's not just this, there's several other things that I want to kind of do spring cleanup with and kind of present you with, but this would be a portion of it. So figuring out, A, if we're going to do it, B, how we're going to fund it. So we'll look for that date tomorrow, for that email, and we'll probably just be like in a doodle poll or something like that. So, and then today we have in front of you the renewal of our 25-26 administrators. Proud to put that list in front of you. Mr. Frasco has it, right? And that's what we have at this point. So that's my report.
Superintendent of Curriculum and Assessment report.
Just briefly, tonight you will see, as you know, we tabled the curriculum adoption for counseling at the last meeting, followed up with the counselors, so that will be a discussion and action item tonight. We do have the opportunity again, I don't know if you recall last spring, we had the opportunity to apply for a concurrent enrollment grant, and what we had asked for was basically monies for transportation, help maybe getting some more of our own teachers certified. We didn't get the grant because it was pretty tight. That grant has rolled over again. I just got the data from Joe Bowman for our most current concurrent enrollment numbers, which are required by the grant. So I've talked to Rob, it'll be very similar in what we've asked for last year. We might ask for a little bit less money, but really thinking about not prohibiting or having barriers for our students who maybe aren't driving to get to MCC, which we've already been providing. So the grant money would just help cover that. And then just finally, it's not listed there, but I had the opportunity, it was really awesome on Thursday and Friday to go with actually Adriana and Zach Norman, the instructional coach from Pioneer, and Adele Runco, an ELA teacher from Pioneer. We used some of our Easy Grant money, and we went to a Teach Like a Champion Reading Reconsidered training, which I won this shirt, so I sport it. But it was really awesome because we showed up at the training, and if you know anything about Teach Like a Champion, which a lot of our teachers really love, it was actually the author of Teach Like a Champion, Doug Lamov, who actually did the training. So it was all about strategies for grades 3 to 12 on really thinking about the science of reading and really thinking through just the pacing and the inclusivity of pairing nonfiction with fiction text. It was super engaging, and I think we took a lot back, and to the point where Adriana, Zach, and Adele actually turned the training from Thursday and Friday into PD for their staff this morning. So it was awesome.
And before I go to the next one, I do have a question. Go ahead.
I just wanted to mention, I forgot one thing. In my report, it's, we had our 8th grade night the other night to introduce them to the high school transition night. And we had 47 kids express interest on the College Now pathway. So we're seeing a high number, which is, I think, great.
Awesome. I had a question I meant to ask. I know in the legislator LRC, they sent out, there's something about a dyslexia bill that's going through for input from the superintendent. So I guess I'd like I'm sorry I don't recall the bill number, but the one that's on dyslexia, if you and Rita would look at that and give me some feedback, so I can take that back on Friday to LRC. All right. Okay, moving right along, we will go to Assistant Superintendent of Human Resources.
Good evening. I don't have a whole lot tonight. You guys do have our personnel action report. It's that time of the year where we kind of all hesitate when an employee asks to come see us we do have a few resignations on there that we hate to see, but we're working on them. As far as job postings, we've got one administrative posting at this point in time. We have 36 certified and 12 classified, 8 others with our. We are going to our 3rd job fair tomorrow and Wednesday at UNC, hoping that that's a little bit better job fair than it has been in the past with some things that have gotten opened up on their end to invite more folks to it. Both the March 1st and March 13th dates have been productive in conversations, haven't produced candidates yet that we've hired, but at least a little bit of brightness on the horizon that there's some quality candidates that are starting to come back into the flow. So we'll go to UNC and hopefully have some luck there where they're a little bit more local for us. Then we have the administrative recommendation for advancement. There are 23 administrators and directors on that list, a group of folks that were brought up in the district, and we'd recommend them for continued employment into next year. And then just for future planning for you guys, we have recommendation for advancement for the certified folks on April 7th, our classified and ProTech on April 21st.
Chief Financial Officer report.
You all had a chance to kind of take a look at the financials that were sent to you. There were just a few things I was going to highlight just to point them out. The budget that is represented on this December financial is the first preliminary budget. It's not the one we approved in January. That'll be loaded for the next group of financials that you all see. Looking at general fund at the end of December, they had spent 57% of their budgeted amount. That's pretty much on track. When you get towards the end of school, there's not as much spending that's going on. Mill levy, the revenues are gonna look low because most of the taxes come in after the first of the year. So in the March financials, you'll see a lot more revenue that will show up there. Cap reserve, they've been doing a good job getting things finished for what we had on the list. They're at 92% of projects were completed at the end of December, so they're really moving along. And then bond redemption, just pointing out that we've made the principal payments for the year already. We have one more interest payment that will be completely expended, but it's right on budget. There's no surprises there because we know what we're gonna pay. That's about all I had on this. Any comments? Are you happy with the presentation? Is it easy to read? Okay.
Any questions? Brandon? Discussion items, the first one on the agenda is the curriculum adoption for counseling.
I just wanted to mention a couple of things. The price tag on counseling came in a lot higher than I would have hoped, unfortunately. However, I'll just kind of highlight from the curriculum world what happens in the curriculum realm is that companies buy companies, and then they, so what happened actually with DESA, which is our Aperture Universal Screener that we have been using K-8, and we've been able to pay for DESA K-8 out of Counseling Core Grant for K-5, and then I've been paying for the Universal Screener for middle school for the last couple of years out of Title IV, which is well-rounded, right, education, safe, healthy students. And Riverside Insights bought them, and like this was in this whole year. I wish I would have known Riverside Insights was gonna buy them, because what happens is then they decide to kind of amplify their own product. So you could not buy the Universal Screener for K-12 without buying their Tier 2 solution, if that makes sense. Now, what we knew when we looked at like our needs assessment is we wanted this Universal Screener to guide our Tier 2 counseling small groups. We like Character Strong a lot better. We've been using Character Strong universally at K-5, actually for multiple years, for Tier 1. We like their Tier 2 solution better. I tried to get Riverside Insights to budge. Then they provided, you'll see in the quotes, this discount. You know, both companies gave us a discount, which $20,000 of a discount doesn't actually seem like that much in the whole scheme of things at 102. However, so when I went to my counselors at the last meeting, the expectation from me at the district level is we really are digging into Tier 2 resources, and we really need to be using the DESA, the Universal Screener for social emotional learning. Now at K-8 right now, it's teacher report. There is a student self-report section now that started in the middle school and then bridges to the high school. So the high school potentially could use a student self-report and a teacher report. I think we just need to work through that. Oh my gosh, I just lost the parental, like guardian consent, you know, to actually have students self-report things. That makes sense. So, you know, because they're talking about their mental health. And so at the end of the day, it's costly. I am going to actually pair some Title IV money that I had set aside for safe and healthy students that we were allocating. Sorry, this is kind of long roundabout, but that we were going to allocate for buying a system for ICAP, our individual career and academic planning, which we have not had since Naviance didn't really work for us for 6 years and we just paid for it. So we kind of took a little break, but we know that the state's gonna start asking for, and they're kind of going to start auditing a little bit, like, what does your ICAP look like? Well, we've decided we're building our own system in Google Drive, and I'm really actually happy with that, so I don't have to spend money, on an ICAP system. So I'm gonna reallocate that $17,000-ish, and then pair that into the curriculum costs for counseling. That makes sense? So I'm using a little bit of Title IV federal programs money, and then the rest would be our tying out our last curriculum adoption for this year. Questions? That was a lot, but.
So we're purchasing both of these that are presented to
Correct.
us?
I know. Oh, trust me, I tried so hard on bartering with these companies, and anymore, it's, if I could be in charge of the world and in charge of doing our own curriculum, and it'd be really awesome.
So the question I have is, I know it gives staff reports and so forth. Is there a staff? Okay.
Good question, yes, and actually, we just looked at middle of the year data, and have seen kind of some tremendous movement for kids who've been in small groups. And again, the teacher report's as good as the teacher report.
Absolutely.
I mean, the teacher reporting on a student, right? But it's a lot easier to have a conversation with somebody who's maybe struggling with a kiddo with behavior, and you're like, wow, well, I'm looking at their universal screening data, and it doesn't appear that we're having like any, the student has all strengths, but then there's definitely some needs. And so, yes, I'd be happy to provide that at the end of the year for the board. It's good information.
Thank you. Next on the agenda, we have the school calendar for next year. Any questions about the proposal?
I think the only question that might come up is, how many snow days are we building into this? Because I know we had, I believe, 5 last year, and I think we used 0.
We have. I think 11,
10 or 11.
We did decrease
I mean, because I mean, the one thing that I've been approached from staff is this a way to maybe cut that amount down to where, you know,
Well, if you recall, part of the conversation was that we weren't going to take the number of instructional hours away from kids, and so in order to do that, that takes instructional hours away from kids.
Okay,
Yep, thank
and
you.
that's the question. So, thank you, that's the answer that I needed, just to make sure that we're on track with what we originally approved.
Thank you. Next, we have the Board of Education meeting schedule for next year. Woo-hoo. D, district accountability, the DAC meeting dates for the 25-26 school year are listed. So we have the third reading, district revision policy, GCCDA-R, administrative staff sick leave. And the second reading for district policy revisions. Discussion on any of those items? As there's a reason to not do a consent agenda, I will ask for the pleasure of the board for the consent agenda.
Move to approve.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Amy Grantham.
Aye.
Nancy Hopper.
Aye.
Katie Jess.
Aye.
John Proudy.
Aye.
Mindy Smith. Sarah Whitney.
Aye.
Next on action items, we have the 2025-26 contract renewals for the administrators. Pleasure of the board.
Move to approve.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Amy Grantham.
Aye.
Nancy Hopper.
Aye.
Katie Jess.
Aye.
John Proudy.
Aye.
Mindy Smith.
Aye.
Sarah Whitney.
Aye.
Next, curriculum adoption for counseling. Pleasure of the board.
Move to approve.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Amy Grantham.
Aye.
Nancy Hopper.
Aye.
Katie Jess.
Aye.
John Proudy.
Aye.
Mindy Smith.
Aye.
Sarah Whitney.
Aye.
Next action item is to approve the 25-26 school year calendar. Pleasure of the board.
Move to approve. Second.
Roll call, please.
Amy Grantham.
Aye.
Nancy Hopper.
Aye.
Katie Jess.
Aye.
John Proudy.
Aye.
Mindy Smith.
Aye.
Sarah Whitney.
Aye.
Next on the agenda will be the Board of Education meeting schedule for 25-26. Pleasure of the board.
Move to approve. Second.
Roll call.
Amy Grantham.
Aye.
Nancy Hopper.
Aye.
Katie Jess.
Aye.
John Proudy.
Aye.
Mindy Smith.
Aye.
Sarah Whitney.
Aye.
Next, we have the DAC schedule for meeting dates. Pleasure of the board.
Move to approve.
Second.
Roll call.
Amy Grantham,
Aye.
Nancy Hopper,
Aye.
Katie Jess,
Aye.
John Crowdy,
Aye.
Mindy Smith,
Aye.
Sarah Whitney.
Next, we have item F, third reading, district revision policy GCCBA-R, administrative staff sick leave. Pleasure of the board.
Move to approve.
Roll call, please.
Amy Grantham,
Aye.
Nancy Hopper,
Aye.
Katie Jess,
Aye.
John Crowdy,
Aye.
Mindy Smith,
Aye.
Sarah Whitney.
Action item G, Fort Morgan High School FBLA Future Business Leaders of America State Leadership Conference approval.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Amy Grantham,
Aye.
Nancy Hopper,
Aye.
Katie Jess,
Aye.
John Crowdy,
Aye.
Mindy Smith, Sarah Whitney.
Aye.
Items for advanced planning. The next school board meeting of education will be April 7th and April 21st. And B, the district office will be closed on Friday, April 18th. For the business to come before the board, we will adjourn at 7:51.